Okay, welcome everyone. This is the first virtual discussion for transfer and career success stories from the Latinx and Hispanic RVCC graduates. I would like to welcome you all to the program, and it is with my pleasure as well as Carrie's. We are both from the Career Success and Experiential Learning Office, and we were co-sponsoring this program with the Obulo Latino Club that is here on campus that works with students who are from the Latinx and Hispanic community. So this afternoon, what the students who are on the call would like to share, well, some are students and some are actually no longer students, who are former RVCC graduates, I'm sorry, RVCC students. They are all here to share their stories about what made their journey here at RVCC um, easy and what were some of the challenges that they actually encountered while they were here at RVCC. Um, I would like to open up the floor for Carrie to be able to, well, let me introduce myself first. My name is Michelle Ann Farben, and I am the Career Success Advisor here on campus. I am also an RVCC alumni, and when I finished my bachelor's degree, I came back to the school in order to help students based on the work that I had gotten support when I was here as a student. So it was my way to pay it forward to come back and help students the same way that I was helped. So that's my story, my journey. And I would like to introduce my partner, Carrie, who works in the office with me, so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I think everybody here is paying it forward. So my name is Carrie Bazar, and I'm the career counselor and career educator in the Office of Career Success and Experiential Learning. My role is to help students to connect the pieces of their college experiences inside and outside the classroom to career goals and career success. We'll talk a little bit, if we have time at the end, about a little bit more about what our office does and how it can help you and how you can get in touch with us as well. I wanted to go over some housekeeping details too. So we're going to leave time at the end of today, probably about 10 or 15 minutes for Q&A. So you will have time to ask questions. However, we also want it to be more of an interactive conversation as well. So when a panelist, after a panelist responds to one of the questions, if you would like to ask a question, just please use the raise hand feature in your reactions on the toolbar, or you certainly can type it into the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat as well, but we want this to be interactive. So please don't hesitate to ask your questions at the time that you have them. And so I would like Annie, who is the co-advisor of OLC, Orgullo Latino Club, and a wonderful colleague and graduate and panelist, to introduce our program, because she is the superstar, as Michelle would say, who titled this program for us. Take it away, Annie.
Okay, bienvenidos todos a esta discusión de cómo es la vida o cómo ha sido la vida después de graduarse o transferirse a otras escuelas después de Raritan Valley Community College. Y en verdad, muchas gracias a todo el equipo de éxito en la carrera y por invitarnos y también por ayudarnos a seguir construyendo nuestras metas, aún después de graduarnos. Y sí, muchas gracias, bienvenidos. Y it is an honor and a privilege to be with you today.
You did a much better job than I would have done.
Thank you so much, Annie. So I would like to have each one of the panelists introduce themselves. If you can tell us what your major was at RVCC and the year that you graduated, where you are now, whether you're in school or if you're working. So I'll call on Annie first since you started.
since I'm here already. Good. Um, right, my name is Andrea Markey. Um, I started at RVCC in 2017 and I graduated in 2019. I am currently working at RVCC as an enrollment specialist. What else? Oh, I transferred to Rutgers Newark for psychology, and I graduated in 2021. My minor was actually it was an honors program in honors living learning community. It's a program based on social justice and any like very very geared towards being a change agent in our society. That was a very special program for me, because thanks to RVCC and my involvement and like my grades, I got to go to Rutgers Newark with a full ride scholarship. And yeah, it was very helpful for me. And yeah, now I work at RVCC. As Michelle said it, to pay it back for everything that, all the opportunities that I've received right here. So yes.
Thank you, Annie. Ingrid, would you like to go next?
I'm Ingrid Medina. I graduated at RVCC in May 2021, and I was a business administration major. Then I transferred over to Montclair State University as a marketing major. And now I'm interning at Merck as a global communications intern. I started there last summer, and then I got my internship extended until the end of this April.
Welcome, Ingrid.
Thank you.
Maria, would you like to go next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Jimenez. I graduated from RVCC last May in general business, and I am currently at Montclair majoring in accounting, and I hope to join the 4+1 program and work on my master's.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Theory.
Hi, everybody. My name is Vidi Martinez. My pronouns are she, they. I graduated from RVCC in 2018, May of 2018, and then I transferred to Rutgers, where I studied public policy. I studied liberal arts at RVCC. At Rutgers, I did public policy and then also a minor in Latino and Caribbean studies because I was part of OLC and I really loved my experience there. I was also an associate program assistant at the Eagleton Institute of Politics. So that really helped me propel me towards my career, where I'm currently at the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, which is the largest immigrant justice coalition in the state of New Jersey, fighting to empower and protect immigrants in the state of New Jersey. We're most notably known for passing the driver's license law in New Jersey, which is really important. So I'm the manager of member empowerment there, where I lead our organizing efforts and capacity building efforts for our members.
Thank you for sharing, Very welcome. So, Veronica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Veronica Del Monte. So I graduated Raritan Valley Community College May 2019. And at that time, I graduated with an associate's in human services with pre-social work. And I was also able to get my CADC at RVCC in 2019 as well. A CADC is a certification on drug and alcohol abuse. So I'm certified for drug and alcohol counseling. From there, I transferred over to the Rutgers School of Social Work and I graduated, I believe May 2021. I graduated from the Rutgers School of Social Work, and then from there I transferred over to New York Silver School University. So I was at NYU, and I graduated this past spring, 2022. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to now work at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. I work at a Peter Kruger clinic, so I specifically work with people who live with HIV and AIDS and struggle with substances.
Thank
But my specific role is I'm an addiction specialist / psychotherapist.
Thank you for sharing. So before I ask the first question, I want to acknowledge Alicia Hermo Weaver, who is the manager of the Career Success and Experiential Learning office. She started the Santa Fe Corporate Mentor Program that is going into its 7th year. And 4 of the participants who are on the panel, being Ingrid, Veronica, Maria, and Viri, are all former mentees from the program. So, Alicia.
Hi, everybody. Great to just be here. I'm just an observer taking it all in. And if I keep on smiling, it's because I'm just so joyful to see these wonderful faces, these amazing women. So thank you.
So my first question is, how did you get interested in your major or your field? And anyone can respond.
I can answer that. So initially I was a nursing major, and I think everyone kind of like knew that when I was in the Sanofi corporate mentorship program, because that was kind of like a struggle for me. I did nursing for 3 years, and I was so set on doing that just because I was first generation, and I didn't feel like I had the option to change my major. I already had the prereqs, like the student loans and everything. So I felt like it wasn't an option, but then I took a step back after my 3rd year. And I just kind of did some reflection, and I realized that my biggest outlet was fashion. So what could I do with that? And that's where I found marketing. And then marketing, I could also do something in healthcare, like pharmaceutical marketing or just anything. So that's why I decided to do marketing as my major when I went to RVCC. And I feel like that was like the best decision because it's such a good major to fall back on. You can kind of work in any industry.
Anyone else?
I'd like to share that I relate to you, Ingrid. I initially started with nursing, and it was mostly because I had a lot of pressure from my parents to become a doctor or a lawyer. So I ended up settling with nursing, and I realized that I wasn't passionate about it. It wasn't something that was going to make me happy in the long run. So I also decided to take a step back, reflect. And at the time, I didn't have mentors or didn't reach out to the resources I had. So I just reflected and thought about what I wanted to do, what was going to make me happy. And I realized that I grew up with entrepreneurs, and my family has had, painting companies and restaurants, and most recently a food truck. So naturally, I gravitated towards business. And after taking a few courses, I ended up taking an accounting class, and I really liked it, and I was pretty good at it. So accounting.
Anyone else want to share?
Yeah. First of all, I definitely related with the stories because my mom is a nurse, and my mom also wanted me to be a nurse. But growing up, I wanted very different things. And growing up with a mom who always knew that she wanted to be a nurse, and that's what she did her entire life, is like very challenging because you are expected to know what you want to do. And I just didn't. So I was a chef for about 8 years of my life. And when I came here to the United States, I was still a chef, baker, and cake decorator. And there was a point where I started reflecting and feeling that tired after work every day. It was just like so draining. And I visualized myself like, how do I want to see myself in 5 years? And it was definitely not like that. I didn't want to be covered in sugar and dough and all of that. And there are people who are very passionate about it, but my passion just ran out. So I wanted to start understanding humans a little bit more, and finding ways to help and to be compassionate and empathic with one another. So I decided that psychology was a good route because of all the flexibility that also provides, that like it's so broad that you could use it for human resources, for counseling, for eventually if I want to go on the field of social work, I could just go into it. And those are things that I'm very passionate about as well. But now that I work for higher education, I am also like very interested in it, like leadership and policy changing and DEI, like all of these things that I really care about. So I thought that psychology was a very good option for me.
Thank you for sharing, Annie. If anyone else isn't interested in answering this question, then we'll move on to the next one. Karen?
Great. So many of you talked about changing plans along the way with your major. Is anyone on the panel had an experience with changing career plans? And if you have, could you share about that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. When I first went to college, I wanted to be a teacher. And I was like so set on that. And then when I went to college, when I went to RV, I was like so confused. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. This is all really confusing. My parents, like I come from I'm first gen, right? My parents were undocumented up until like I was 20. So I was really the first one to figure things out in my family. And then I was like, let me just leave it at the most general classes I can take. So I took very general classes, did my liberal arts. And when I went to Rutgers, I was like, I want to be part of the change making process, but I don't know what that looks like. Political science is all theory based. I don't want to be in like theory classes. I want to be more in applied classes, So I found the public policy department and at Rutgers, and I fell in love with it. It's everything from just like government to like urban planning to public health and all this sorts. So it was just really helpful. I did internships in policy, but I did also internships in like community organizing. I thought I was going to stay on the policy route, but I really found my home in the community organizing arena of the policymaking process. So that's where I'm really at right now. I think I'm gonna stay here for a while just because I can't see myself leading a campaign or doing campaign strategy just yet, maybe like down the road, or I can't see myself being in like a policymaker's office again. That was stressful. So I think this is where I'm at. I love the organizing space to empower other folks, especially folks that like look like us and come from our communities, most of them who have been marginalized by different types of systems. Most of them that remind me of my parents, right? And they were like, my parents were undocumented. They were facing a lot of labor exploitation, a lot of challenges with housing and so much, right? But to work with community members who say and who know this is wrong and I shouldn't be going through this. I have rights and my dignity deserves to be upheld. That's really empowering. And to be a part of that changing making process has been really amazing.
And here you are advocating and change making for our students today. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to discuss any career plans that changed kind of along the way? Okay, so the next part of that question is, what steps did you take or advice did you get to help you with your decision, your major decision or your career decision? Did you get any advice? Did you have any mentors? Anyone want to take a stab at that one?
I would like to share. Just to give kind of a background with me in social work, I always knew that I wanted to be in the helping field. So originally I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. But because I am, you can't tell, but I am a little bit older than a few of my colleagues. So I was like, well, I don't have the time to be in school for 20 years or to be a doctor. So then I wanted to transition into nursing. I took the nursing exams a couple times and I failed. So clearly I wasn't smart enough for nursing. So then I found social work, which is like, well, first I found psychology, which kind of was interesting to me because as a first generation, as a woman of color, as an Afro-Latina, I found myself that in my personal life, I was always the therapist. I was always the social worker. I was always the one that, I was like 10 years old and my family's like, can you read this? Right? So we're always there. And then from there, I found social work because my interest in social work came from, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel as though psychology and psychiatry is very symptom-based, and then I am personally a solutions-based person. So me managing a symptom does nothing for me personally or product-wise or like result-wise. So social work allowed me to view a person's experience and life experience from every aspect of them. Again, I work with people who are in addictions and live with HIV. HIV and substances are not the only thing part of your life, right? It's a small section of this bigger picture and this bigger puzzle. So following my way into getting a master's into social work, I had a lot of internal conflicts because, again, I'm first generation. My family is also fresh off the boat, as they say. It was just my mom. And one of the things that my mom instilled in me is like, listen, I don't have anything to give you, but what I do have to give you is this opportunity to an education in America, where in a lot of growing countries and a lot of developing countries, they don't have access to that. So I made it a point that whatever I was going to do, I had to not only be passionate about it, but I had to also recognize that me as a person, I don't like to be in one thing. So being comfortable in a job bores me. So that's going to make me lose my passion. And social work allowed me to have all of those avenues and still does. When I was making my decision to go get a bachelor's and, pursue my master's, I was an EOF. So I was working with Jen, I was working with Diane. Diane knows and Jen knows how many times I would go to their offices like crying, saying like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not meant to go to college. And they would just like upkeep me like, no, like you have to believe that you're meant for something more. Everything has a solution. And sometimes doing nothing is a solution. And thankfully, I was blessed to be able to have a lot of doors open for me. And I was able to connect to a lot of people. And I was able to get the guidance that I needed by simply asking, right? If I don't know something, I would just call and be like, hey, who can I talk to show me how to do X, Y, or Z, right? And then not only that, I also felt like for RVCC and all of the schools and programs that I've been a part of is that they reminded me that I know, like, we're taught to like believe that we're going to be something, but then it's like the world around us tells us that we're not. So everybody that I've come in within my academic career has shown me that not only am I capable of reaching the goals that I want, that I can reach the goal that I want. Like for me personally, I'm not supposed to be in the position that I am. I'm not supposed to be a graduate student with an LSW, with a master's. That wasn't supposed to be my story. But I was blessed to be able to be around people, around a community, especially at RVCC, since that was my first step into the academia world and into the world of careers, that showed me that I am deserving of new opportunities and being better, right? As coming from immigrants, the goal is opportunity and growth, right? So here I am growing.
So you found making the connections and you made
Yes.
connections with people who really just had your back.
For sure. Through EOF, I was able to make a ton of connections. Through Sanofi, I was able to see what it really looks like to work in the corporate world and connect and how to like interview and like how to present myself in a certain way. And then following when I went to Rutgers, I was in a separate program as well, where they were able to assist me in continuing that, like growing my career skills, growing my professional skills, and again, continuing to connect with the resources on campus. Like, honestly, sometimes the only thing you really need to do is just call somebody at an office and be like, hey, I have this issue. Who can I talk to?
Thank you. Anyone else want to answer the question of, did you have anyone help you with your decisions along the way, or any mentors guiding you?
I feel like I had a different experience. Like Veronica was saying, the biggest thing is like ask questions, because that's what I regret the most. I feel like if I just like had the confidence to ask questions, I feel like I would have been at a completely different place, and that kind of like held me back a little bit. So I kind of like found my way through my mistakes and just like my experience. Like I did it all by myself, but I feel like I would have been there sooner if I had asked for help.
But you might not have grown as much in the past.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Learning from mistakes are the best types of successes sometimes.
Yeah.
Michelle, you want to go to the next question?
I think you're on mute.
You're mute.
I'm sorry. Can you share an experience you had with in a favorite class? Maybe it's with a professor, or any type of academic experience you had while you were attending RVCC or at your four-year institution? And what resources did you use on campus to support your academic or professional success? So the first part is if you could talk about an academic experience, one of your favorite classes or favorite professor that you had while you were attending here at RV or at your four-year institution. And then what resources did you use in order to help you become successful in your career or academically?
Does Sanofi count?
Of course.
I cannot talk any, like, I cannot say or express how amazing that the Sanofi Corporate Mentorship Program was for me, how life-changing it was, how having a mentor, you know, the guidance of the coordinators, Michelle, Alicia, Shay, Nazneen, being able to learn how to network and speak professionally, the help on my resume, my elevator pitch, which I still use all the time. It was an amazing experience, and I definitely recommend anyone who can participate, try to do that. And I would say I definitely always use the tutoring center. It's so helpful. Career and success advisors, the health and wellness advisors are so important. And I actually really wanted to bring that up because Latinos and therapy, there's like a stigma on it, and we need to break that stigma. And I think it's something important to speak about. I also use the service learning center, and those were something that have helped me throughout college and be successful.
Thank you for sharing with me.
Yes.
Anyone else?
For me, when I first started RVCC at that time, we had the multicultural office. And for me, that office was everything. As a first generation, as a person of color, as a woman, surrounded by people who are in the same experiences, well, similar experiences that we shared, it was important for me to find people who not only had the same or similar mindset, but also would also have the mindset of seeing the growth in me. At that time, we had Dean Richeline DeShield, and she definitely was the person at that time, like beginning of my career at RV, she was definitely the person to be like, Veronica, go talk to so-and-so, go talk to so-and-so. You need to speak up for yourself. If you don't ask, you will not get fed, right? Like, it's like that saying, if you don't ask, you don't get fed. So I definitely took that and I ran with it. Obviously for EOF, Danye's team, Jen, they all supported me all the way through. For Sanofi, I remember sitting in Alicia's office, sitting there like, Alicia, what am I gonna do? And she's definitely guided me and supported me. For me, my experience at RV showed me like I wouldn't have done it any other way. Like other people will tell me like, oh, why don't you just do a 4-year? And I'm like, no, like you don't get it. As someone who like if I would have just went into Rutgers, I wouldn't be like, I don't know if I would still be where I'm at, but it would be a different experience for me because the way that I was not only able to connect with my professors, advisors, and the people and the staff that was there to support me, I was able to connect with the students and the peers that I had that we could like lean on each other and created like a safe space, whether it was in the multicultural office or going down to EOF. And I'd be like, can I use the computers? Can I print? Can I do this? Can I do that? And everyone was just like, yes. And I would be like, well, I don't want to take advantage. And they're like, you're not taking advantage. This is what we're here for, right? Like we're here to motivate you, to support you, to get you access to the resources that you don't have. So all I can really say overall, RV 10 out of 10, I always say it. And for me, for social work, the classes were very intimate, right? Especially when we think about the careers that we go into. When a lot of people go into social work or psychology, it's a lot of like internal work and learning about how to apply that into the clients and the work that we do. So a lot of my classes, it was a lot of discussion based, a lot of going through those things in my life that were in my mind normal, but in reality weren't. And then not only that, looking at these skills, looking at these theories and just like really like digging into what it would really look like to be in the position that I'm in.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I'm with Veronica right there. Definitely RVCC changed me, transformed me, and like built me up, like who I am today. And everything I do today is because of RVCC. Professors, oh my goodness, I cannot name them all, but every single one has taught me something so important. Not only about the topics that they talk about, but also about myself, about the history of people like me, and literally like to the level of analyzing my own history, my family and my background, and like really understanding myself from a historical perspective. I discovered that I'm basically indigenous from the area in my hometown, and I started building I don't remember the name of it, but like an entire like family tree, and started connecting with my ancestors that way. And building those roots, being far from home, can heal so many wounds, especially when you are in a place that it feels different, everything feels different, and you feel lonely. Building back that relationship with yourself and with who came before you is very healing. One of the classes that I had in at Rutgers, it was taught by the Muncie Lenape here in New Jersey, and I just thought it was amazing to be able to understand another way to see life, being rooted in the land and in supporting each other, instead of seeing it from a very capitalistic and very individualistic point of view. I thought it really helped me grow a lot. And now that I am here at RVCC, something that I loved about RVCC is that when I first arrived, I thought it was just school, you know, like you come, take classes and go home. But then I started discovering all of these amazing resources, like Maria said, like advising and counseling the counselors, the mental health counselors have helped me so much. Well, helped me back in the day. Now I'm a colleague, so I can can really go. But then like going to Carrie for career advice, like so most of my professors at RVCC are now my friends. Like we hang out, like they came to my birthday party. Like it's building those relationships with people when you are far from home, and like now you feel like this is home, is extremely powerful and very healing. So
Thank you so much for sharing that, Annie. And from what I'm hearing from all of your stories is that those connections are those were the most important experiences that you had here at RV while you were students, and all of you transferred that into your four-year institutions to keep that going on, to make those connections when you went on to your four-year institutions. So thank you all for sharing. Carrie?
So I'm just blown away by all this, but many of you spoke about identifying as first gen and having challenges along the way. Does anyone on the panel who hasn't had a chance to share their story, their journey, want to add to the experiences we've heard so far, or to answer even what would you have done differently?
I can go. My parrots are going off in the background, so if you hear them, just ignore them.
They're a part of your story.
Yeah. Yeah, so sorry, it's just too cute. I just can't get over it. Okay, so when I was at RV, I felt this kind of shame about going to a community college, right? There's this shame that is associated sometimes with going to the community college versus a 4-year right after high school, and that was I felt like I had to just get over that, because I was just like, look, like my parents don't have money, like I have to like pay half my bill, like I thankfully like they can like pay like the other half, but like thankfully I'm also getting scholarships from RV, like that at the same time, like I have to get over myself and just like keep going, just because no one's in my shoes right now, and no one's going to ever walk in my shoes. I really thank Dean DeShield when she was there at RVCC. She really helped me just like feel really comfortable in my skin. When I was president of OLC, I was just so scared all the time. I was just like, what if I mess up? What if this? What if that? And Dean was just like, no, like what if nothing? Like what if everything goes right? You know, like what if this event goes well? What if like you empower all these like Latino students who like this is their first engagement with like an event? Yeah, so yeah, I really appreciate Dean, and the Office of Multicultural Affairs was like a big home for me. I also am very thankful for Karen Gaffney. She's a professor, and she teaches literature at RV. One of her classes was like race in American society or something like that, and that class like blew my mind. Like that was my first exposure to anything that had to really like academically deal with race. And when I saw my story and like how my identity is politicized in America, I was just shocked. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want to like keep I just want to keep like being part of this. I want to just like keep learning about this. So that's what I went to Rutgers for. Like I was just learning more about like politics, Latinos in politics. I was learning about like different types of like different forms of oppression and like different liberation forms, and how like people can really empower themselves and empower their communities to fight for justice. And that was something that I was like, I just felt so moved by her class, and also by Brendan Hepburne's class, feminist philosophy. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I just saw myself for the first time. I really saw myself. And it really politicized me in the best way. And it's amazing when I work with organizers every day, and I ask them often, like, what politicized you? What brought you into this work? And oftentimes it's just when they found themselves in something, whether it was reading a book or a poem, or like a war politicized them because their identity was politicized. Like it's just really incredible that like my turn was at RVCC, where like it's definitely a home for me. And when I look back at my RVCC days, I'm very thankful for them.
You never know when you're gonna get inspired, which door is gonna open for you, right? Anybody else want to add to that? Annie?
I was clapping. That was not a hand up. But yeah, Karen definitely changed my life. Like that class, it was transformative, because I never saw myself reflected anywhere. I remember growing up watching American movies and American TV shows and seeing like this beautiful houses with triangular roofs and snow and blonde hair, blue eyes. And I would watch it in mi casa, su casa, in my humble town, my house. Well, my roads don't have sidewalks, and there are people who live still in cardboard and rock houses with no floor, like the dirt is the floor. And I remember thinking, like, whatever I see on TV, that's what happiness looks like. And if I don't get out of here, I will never be happy. And I couldn't be more wrong. Like learning how political it is, how historically marginalized my people, my family has been throughout history. But learning about that history, that's what made me realize that I had to do something. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to save as much money as possible that I can send to my mother, and I want to build some sort of cooperative farm for people in my town to have just something for their own and just have the ability to keep growing. Because yes, the opportunities that we get here may be unique and maybe for us, and that is awesome, but like also the things that we get, we can share them. So yeah. So yeah, I thought I agree with Mariella.
Thank you so much, Annie. That was beautiful, as Viri said.
I'm trying to gather myself before we go on to start the next question, because that was just awesome. So when you talk about being marginalized, was diversity an important factor for you when you made your selection to transfer on to your forward institution, or when you were hired at your organizations? And if that is the case, what were some of the questions that you asked the employer or the school about DEI? Anyone? You want me to repeat it? Okay. So since I'm hearing the message that many of you felt that you were marginalized when you came here to live in the United States. So was diversity an important factor for your selection when you transferred to your four-year institution or you were hired at your organization that you're currently working at? And if that was important for you, what were some of the questions that you asked the company or the college's commitment to DEI?
I can answer that question. So for myself, I'm gonna be 100% honest. It was who was gonna give me the most money. That was what it was for me. Because again, I didn't have the financial background to have like that support, right? I didn't want to indebt myself into thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for going to school. And that's something that I was like, I'm not going to see the worth of it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, even if I get a job that pays me 100,000, how fast am I really going to be able to live and pay like 300K in student loans? So for me, I was actually enrolled in a program called Rutgers Future Scholars, where they were able to pay for my for pretty much the time that I was at Rutgers. And I was able to get a bachelor's there at Rutgers, and they assisted me with like finding what I wanted to do next. So for me, it was more about, this is what I want to do. Who can I connect with? Who can like follow the money, pretty much. That's what my, because I want to go to school. I know that I'm smart. I know that I have these skills and capabilities and these interests, but it's just like, how do I make that happen? And something that in school I learned, and I learned that from the moment I stepped into RV, was it's about who you know and who you can connect with. And that's something that I've also learned, especially in Sanofi, when we were meeting like the mentors and the programs and everything. I was blessed enough to go to Diversity Inc. and Sanofi was there, and I got to see everybody again. It was like unintentional, and I saw everybody again, and they were asking like how I was doing, and going from there. So that was, the financial part of like picking what school to go to. At first, no school wanted to give me anything. And then I was like, you know what, I guess I'm not going to get a bachelor's, or I'm going to have to take this loan out. But then, I got blessed with that opportunity to go with Rutgers Future Scholars. From there, when I got into NYU, Dean Richeline DeShield actually guided me and pushed me to go to NYU. And I said, why am I going to go to NYU if Rutgers didn't even want me? I had the grades, I had the skills, I had the internship hours, I had everything. And I was like, they're not going to get me. And I was definitely blessed to be able to get into their advanced placement program, where they covered 50% of my tuition. So I was, those are opportunities that don't come all the time. It is who you know, who you go to, who you connect with, and so on. So she was able to get me to the door. All I had to do was knock. And that's how I view everybody at RV and all of the people that have been part of my academic career, is like, and that also reflects in social work too, about what I do. I'm not going to fix the issue, right? I can't, if you have a housing issue, I can't move you, but I can find out who you need to talk to be able to move, and so on. Academic wise, again, I said, I'm going to follow the money. I want to do something I like, but I want to get paid for it. So getting a master's was the best option for social work, because, you get licensed, you do your thing, you obviously get a little bit more pay for the education. I am contemplating on getting a PhD, but like money-wise is really not worth it. Like, it's unless I want to teach, but I'm a nerd, so I love school. Like, if it was up to me, I'd stay in school forever. But again, I wanted to get into a field that not only I can accrue my licensing hours, like right now I'm licensed in the state of New York and New Jersey. So New York, I'm an LMSW, New Jersey, I'm an LSW, and I'm starting my hours to get my LC. So that's a licensed clinical social worker. So God willing, I'll be able to do my hours. And then from there, if you know me, I'm a little crazy. I would like to be president, and I've always said that for a long time, and I'm manifesting that. I'm really trying to transition into politics and policy. Especially, I've definitely learned that within social work and the clinical side, I can only do so much, right? I can only motivate somebody so much, but policies and that part of social work are long lasting and impact people on a broader spectrum. So again, it's figuring out like who I want to become. Like right now, this is where I'm at, and these are the people that I work with. But then it's like, again, being who I am, I get bored easily. I'm not saying that I love my job, but like what am I going to do next? Like, it doesn't stop here. This is just, again, one little piece to a big puzzle, or one little piece to my life journey. And the only thing to end with that, I think it's really important to prioritize what's important to you when it comes to picking out like what schools you want to go to and what career way you want to go to. For me, at the point that where I was at, it was the financial part. I would have loved to go to a school in like Hawaii or like overseas, but I had to like prioritize the reality. You know what? I would have done that if I tried a little bit harder. You know what I mean? But I definitely kept that in mind of like, what can I do realistically? I have to work full time. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I still have to go to school. Right. So for me, it was just following the money and connecting with people who were going to let those doors, like lead me to those doors. And I tell everybody that come to me, like I've had a lot of undergraduate people come to me and say to me, Veronica, and Danye knows, he sent me a couple people like to guide them and say like, hey, where do you go from here? And so on. You have to ask. There's nothing like, what's the worst that can happen? They're going to tell you no. Okay, I'll do something else. Apply. Scholarships can be so tedious, but do it. Because let me tell you, those $500, those $1,000 difference is a difference. So that's me.
So Veronica, do you feel welcome as a Latina woman in your organization?
So for me, I had a little bit of difficulty transitioning over to the 4 years and into my career, because for myself, I noticed that there aren't a lot of Latina or women of color who are social workers. In my opinion, there's kind of a low representation. So in NYU, I really had to, I'm already a loud person. I know I take up a lot of space in general, like that's just who I am. So I had to do a lot of work on being who I am in these spaces where the majority of people were not people of color, and then being able to be confident within myself and saying like, I can do that too. And then transitioning into my job place, I do work with a lot of people who are low income, a lot of people of color, but I've noticed that a lot of the providers and doctors are not people of color. So being that little bit of sazon in my space definitely makes me feel better, because I have clients who will tell me, I'm so glad you speak Spanish. I'm so glad that you don't look like everybody else. I'm so glad you understand my life experience of growing in poverty or whatever. Like because we've been through similar situations. So the support that I have with my team and my supervisor is 10 out of 10. I definitely feel welcomed overall. But for me, it was more of taking this role and noticing and accepting that I am different from everybody. Period. Like I do have a little bit of I call myself a little chocolate chip and caramel, I know that. Today I don't have my hair curly because I had time this weekend, but I normally wear my hair natural, right? So knowing that I have these different life experiences, I look different from everybody, and how do I feel comfortable in these spaces? Because people won't feel how they feel, If I make X person feel uncomfortable, that's on them. I have to make sure that the space that I'm in, I'm comfortable and I have my needs met, right? We are in control of ourselves, not others, right? So just being able to adjust to that, and just being able to, I'm definitely blessed that the supervisor that I have was actually my professor at NYU. So I have a great relationship with her, and she provides me this space to talk about these things with her in supervision. Like, we'll talk about race, we'll talk about things like that are barriers within my own experience. And she's definitely been able to like guide me and support me. And again, for me, it's just feeling comfortable in the space that I'm in, right? Like we live in a world that not everyone has access to higher education or is not able to pursue these dreams. And we do live in a world that not a lot of people of color are in positions of power. So it's a matter of like, how am I as a person in this position of power going to feel comfortable enough and accepting of this position? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Does anybody else want to respond to this question?
Yeah, I can respond. Diversity and inclusion was like, can you repeat the question just because?
Sure, no problem. So did you feel that diversity was an important factor when you decided to select your 4-year institution or where you're currently working? And what were the questions that you asked, if any, about the company's or the school's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah. Okay. So when I was at RV, the Office of Multicultural Affairs was like this tiny office, right? Dean she didn't even have her office yet. Like she didn't get her office desk until probably like the last 6 months of me being there, and I was there for 2 years. So we were very much surrounded by a lot of like white students, and we faced a lot of microaggressions just as an office. I remember like that one time our office billboard got like destroyed by someone, by like a white student, and we just faced a lot of crap, to be honest. And that was really hard. And then there was one time at RV where I had prepared, like, we were leading a campaign. The OLC was leading a campaign to check the box. So like at the time, one of the deans came to us and was like, hey, there's like Latino students, like apparently there's like less than 3% of Latino students at RVCC, but when we look in the hallways, there's like so many like Latino students and so many students in classrooms. So OLC was like, okay, let's do a campaign. Let's ask folks to like check the box off when you enroll, to like check the box off that you're Latino. And if you get to 25%, you become a Hispanic serving institution, which brings you a lot of financial aid for your Latino students, which is like really great. We eventually got to 23%, I think, or something like that. And what was one day I had like prepared the materials, the campaign materials, really late at night, and I went to my night class. It was a science class, and the professor was asking me a lot of pressing questions. And then one of the questions she asked was just like, well, not the questions, but she was just like, why would I want to put my tax dollars towards something like this? Like, why would I want to put my tax dollars towards like students who don't work hard enough? And she was talking about Latino students, brown students. And eventually the college did fire her, which I'm very thankful for the college for doing that. But moving forward, I was like, I don't want to be in a space where like my identity has to continuously be challenged all the time, and my community continuously has to be challenged. Like that was really frustrating. So when I went to Rutgers, right, Rutgers is huge. Rutgers has like so many like so many clubs, so many like student clubs, so many opportunities for students of color to find like a political home, to find a social home. And that was like really amazing to be at Rutgers and just like find that. So that was one of the reasons why I went to Rutgers. My job specifically, I genuinely do love my job, and I see myself staying here for a long time. My job, I work with people of color, people who have been marginalized, all types of people, like from all walks of life. And we are in the social justice space. So we are fighting for people's rights, right? We are trying to empower community members to fight for their rights as well. Yesterday, for example, I went to the State House and I gave a training to our community members on how to meet with legislators, and they were all Spanish speaking. Some of them were like community members that spoke West African languages. Other community members spoke like who were Asian and spoke their languages as well. And so that was like really empowering to see, okay, wow, like I'm in a space that like looks like my community. I work in a space where like people who are often marginalized and not seen are like fighting for themselves and their communities as well. So it's really empowering to just be in that space and be around people that have been done wrong and don't want to be done wrong anymore. Something else, my boss is really cool. She's in a position of power. She's Filipina, non-binary, really cool person. But they're like, hey, if you need time off, say it. Like, if you need anything, just say it, because we need to make sure that like we as a movement are okay, that we as a movement are safe, that we as a movement are nurtured, and that we as a movement are in the best place to empower other community members. Like, so my boss is like really teaching me a different type of leadership style that I haven't learned yet, which is like taking care of self and really taking care of community, which is really beautiful. So I'm really grateful for the space that I'm in, and for the space that like I have chosen to be in. When I was at RV, right, it was very different. And thankfully, like one of the things that really got me to Rutgers was this scholarship what that from an RV funder that like paid for everything at Rutgers. And if I look back, I'm just like, if I hadn't like Veronica said, like if I hadn't applied for that, like I wouldn't have been there. Like I wouldn't have been at Rutgers. I wouldn't have gotten to where I'm at. I wouldn't have been like empowered enough to make the choices for myself. But it was Dean again who was like, you need to apply to the scholarship. Like you need to apply. Like how, like what are we like, what are these resources for if you don't take advantage of them? So yeah, I think the power of choice is really amazing, and the power of like community is really empowering.
Thank you for sharing. I am so amazed by all of your stories, and I am so glad that each and every one of you participated in the panel. So Carrie, if you want to have some closing comments before we open up the floor for questions.
Yeah, I'm blown away, like I said before. And Veronica, I think you need to network with Viri about systems jobs changing.
I'm gonna be president, so Viri, you already know. Me and Viri go way back. Viri knows what's up. Veronica for 2040, you know?
Gosh.
I love though how you're talking about how, I always say to students, it's not what you major in, it's what you want to do with it, where the motivations are. And so, people think social work and they immediately think that it's individual. Oftentimes, you're face-to-face or interpersonal, but there's so much community work and there's so much advocacy work at the political level and the legal level, as well, and the systems level and changing systems. And that's what you're talking about. And I think that's lifelong learning, right? You're kind of navigating and learning all these things about yourself through experiencing, through connecting with people, and just sort of living and being you. And I just want to thank everyone for sharing their stories and their journeys with the current students that we have. I wish we could go on for an hour more, but we can. So I do want to leave some time for some questions. If the students who are here, if you want to raise your hand or put your question in the chat, I think our panelists would be happy to respond. We'll wait another minute or so. Yes, Sandra.
Hi guys, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you guys are very inspiring. I love the thoughts. I loved, the idea of, wanting to represent, people of color. I definitely, that's definitely something I've been working on. So with that being said, is there any advice that you could recommend for those who are still trying to find who they are, find their story, find what makes them, special, and like how it could spark, their ability to, or their leadership to help others? That's what I kind of want to understand.
I can answer that question for you. So a lot of the work that I do really is about creating self-awareness and motivation. So I think the best thing that you can do for yourself, Sandra, is really question what you want for yourself. Who do you want to become? What influences you, or what aspires your goals? If you want to be a doctor, is it because you were taught that you have to be a doctor? Or is it because you like biology and everything that has to do with whatever doctors do? You get me? And then not only that, I remember picking out like what I wanted to do after my master's, like trying to figure out if I wanted to like start my own clinic or be a clinician, consulting, whatever. And I thought to myself, do I want to be bored with what I do, or do I want to go to work every day? Because it was like a weird transition. And I don't know if anybody else can attest to that. Like, it was like you graduated school, you get the job, and now you just work a 9 to 5 and, you have all this free time, right? So figuring out who you want to become, and then again, prioritizing to meet those goals. Really sitting there and saying like, okay, this is what I'm passionate about, or this is what I'm interested in. How do I get there? How do I make these connections? Who do I call? Who can tell me about an experience that they have I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm really into a lot of like education overseas into developing countries. So I'm trying to see if I can find a way to go to these developing countries and like educate on like sexual education, safe sex practices, HIV care, contraceptive methods, and so on. But that doesn't happen overnight, right? It's not like I'm going to call my boss and be like, hey, well, I did go to my boss and say, hey, can you connect me with someone who does overseas connections? Not like Peace Corps vibes, but like more like community and outreach and connecting with the people, right? So for me, that's something like I'm really big on education. Like education has proven that access to education, whether that's financial education, sexual health education, food education, any type of education, period, provides opportunities for people in general. So again, creating that space to not only educate yourself, but creating that space to be able to grow, ask questions, and don't be afraid to like trip and fall a couple times. Like, I'm blessed to be where I'm at, but Danya can attest to you, and Miss Michelle can definitely attest to you the times that I walk into the office saying, I'm going to quit school because this is too much. I can't do it. I'm just going to be working X job for the rest of my life. So take a second to, focus on your identity and who you want to be. And, maybe get a therapist if you need to do that like internal work to, flourish.
That's amazing. I really, really appreciate it. And in that, like, I know, has there ever been a time where you felt like you've hit rock bottom, or you don't know how to figure it out, or you're trying to make the door open and it's not working, or the door is not opening yet for you? Have you experienced
1,000%, 1,000%,
Because like
100%.
that's the boat I'm in now. It's like I'm afraid to take that leap, and I don't know what to do, and I'm trying to ask everyone around me, but I feel like I don't want to burden them.
Well, then my follow-up question to that would be, what's the worst that could happen if you took the leap?
I guess you're right. I'm that kind of person that I don't like to be told no.
That's part of life. I'm telling you, I literally applied to every school and nobody wanted me, not even Rutgers. And the only way I got this chance with Rutgers was because of that one opportunity. And like Viri, if she didn't have that, and if I didn't have that, where would I be? I probably wouldn't be where I'm at. And all it is just, and that's part of life too. Like when you accept, like rejection is part of life, right? You don't like being told no, but we live in a world that we want that automatic satisfaction. We want to be told yes. But the reality is, the way that I see it is that, and I'm a spiritual person, so the way that I see it is that if I get told no for this, then it wasn't in the books for me. It wasn't in my destiny. That's how I see it. It really is about having to view who you want to become and the challenges you face through a positive mindset.
Sandra, I just wanted to chime in and say, you turn more doorknobs on offices here at the college until you can find the people that are going to become your champions. Okay. The other thing is, don't worry about how many times you're told no. You only need one yes. As soon as somebody tells you no, that lets you know that that's not a person that's on your team. Keep striving for the people that are going to be on your team, realizing that your team's not going to be large. Okay.
Yeah, I would also add, as an advocate, right? And when I'm like always doing I'm always meeting with legislators, right? I'm always meeting with community members as well. And one thing that I have been trained to ask is like, when I get a no, I ask, okay, but why? And so like, now that you ask, okay, but why, you have to get an answer as to like, okay, maybe you're lacking a skill. Maybe you don't have enough information about something. Maybe your expertise is lacking. Maybe this, maybe that. And so then after that, once you have that information, you just up yourself, right? You work on that. So even if you get a no, just ask, okay, but why?
And I also just want to throw in there, something that I live by now is if you don't ask, it's a no. So don't, get rid of that fear of failure and know that if it's like everyone said, if it's a no with someone, keep asking until you get your yes. Keep asking until someone can give you an answer. And there is always someone that is very happy to help and guide you. You just need to ask. And I guess just to reiterate, the resources at RV and the people at RV are so wonderful, and they truly want you to succeed. So don't be afraid of that.
No, I definitely appreciate all of you guys, and I really miss you, Miss Maria. I literally miss you. Like,
Hey, girl,
if you
I
were here
know,
right
it's so
now,
nice to
I
hear
miss you,
from you.
man. It was nice to hear from you too. I miss all of you guys, and just I wish you guys were here right now. Just being surrounded by you guys and your company, like we all relate to each other so much, and there is those days where it's like you feel like you hit rock bottom, but just having you guys right now as a support system, I feel like I can conquer or do anything I set my mind to. So thank you guys for being here, and you guys are amazing. Thank you.
So thank you again to all of our panelists. We are so happy that this is the first program that we've had in order to share your success stories with our current students. And we welcome you to come back in order to share your stories with more of our students. As we recorded this program, we will share this link so that students can hear your story, and you inspired me, so I know you will inspire other students. So, Carrie, you wanna?
Thank you again. Thank you so much. Well, hopefully we'll be able to have you back.